It's a football Sunday here. It's time to get down to the business. Donnie Rightside along with Tom Vecchio as we get ready for Week 9 NFL Sunday action. 30 minutes to kickoff, technically, even though we're 45 minutes away from kickoff. We are going to come down with some great plays today, go over some scenarios, the latest injuries, and see what's what. Tommy, how we feeling about today, man?
Feeling good. It's nice to not have an overseas game. It's nice to not have a double double game on Monday night. So we have a full slate of options today. The favorites today are very heavy favorites. Some of them across the board. There's not a whole lot of injuries. There's not a whole lot of weather. It seems like it's going to be a pretty good week.
Yeah, I got a lot of props into that. Really feel sound on, but also some of these sides where, if you're just reading numbers over the past couple of weeks, hasn't really been working out for you. Like, if you're favorites are running away with these games and, this game looks like the underdog could be able to rise up. They're not rising up. Maybe that changes today, Tom. So let's get started. 1 o'clock start, 4:51, 4:52 rotation. This is a tough one for me. It's the Chicago Bears and the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah. Caleb Williams and, yes, Joe Flacco is starting. The total opened up around that 47.5, 48 range. It's now up to 51.5. The line is -3 for Chicago, and I actually agree with that. Here's the issue, though. DeAndre Swift's been really good, Tom. He's not playing, so Mononga is going to be the starting running back, and I see his numbers somewhere, I believe, in the 70s as a rushing prop, which we'll get to. But understand this. Flacco coming into this game with a sprained, AC joint on his throwing shoulder, which he didn't get a lot of work this week, Tom. How do we play that?
I don't like the 51 total. I really don't. If Flacco was fully healthy, maybe you could say, we get a repeat of what we saw last week between the Bengals and the Jets, but I just don't see that happening. I just don't see Flacco at sub 100% health with the Bears, I think, in a very clear bounce back spot, considering how they lost last week. I expect them to bounce back and come away with the win. I would say if you got the 2.5 of the Bears, that's obviously much better. But with Mononga starting, I see this as a very controlled game for the Bears. They don't want to, turn this into a shootout. If they can keep the Bengals at arm's reach, I think the Bears win this by 6 or 7 points, and the Bengals just won't be able to move the ball on offense. It could mean a big Chase Brown week if Flacco isn't fully healthy, but I'm just not seeing it this week. I think we're going to see the Bears win, and it's going to be far lower scoring than 51 points.
Yeah, I was looking at it because I actually really like Caleb Williams, even though he hasn't thrown a lot of touchdown passes, particularly in games. But you're going up against Cincinnati, you'll move the football. DeAndre Swift's down, so Mononga should pick that up. But I was saying, you know what? I still like the over, the total for the game, Tom. 3.5 touchdown passes is -125. And I do like that. But I actually would have liked it better if actually we had, instead of Joe Flacco starting, it would have been Browning, because here's the issue I have. Your quarterback is a little bit banged up on his shoulder. That doesn't mean you're throwing 62-yard touchdown passes right in the air. It's basically how many chances and opportunities you're going to get in the red zone on 3rd and 3 from the 4 where you're not running the football and you're passing it and you want to cash in that ticket. I almost went that direction, but let me tell you something. If both of these quarterbacks were healthy, that would have been one of my favorite plays of the day. 4 touchdown passes total in this game as it plays out. Now, how do we, Flacco's 235.5, so he's not really getting a discount here. Caleb Williams, 237.5. 2 bad defenses on that side. The total in this game, Tom, I can see them. Actually, you know what? I actually think they have success on the ground as well in this game with the running backs.
Yeah, I think Mononga is a good running back. And, we spoke about him a couple of weeks ago when they were going up against the Saints. I believe he had 60-some-odd yards in that game and a touchdown. This is a spot for him to step up. I will say Mononga is a super, super popular option today when it comes to DFS.
Yeah.
Where he is just he's the absolute chalk today because he's so cheap. The matchup is so good. The volume should be there. And it's also not just DeAndre Swift is out. Roshan Johnson is also out for the Bears. Right. So there's an extreme, the rushing attempt should just be centered around Mononga, and it really puts him in a good spot. I don't love the total. I would stay away from the total. The fact that it's moved up, I would not be betting over after the numbers already moved 3 or 4 points.
Because some of the stalwarts, you say, quarterback play, you expect good quarterback play like Patrick Mahomes and some of the, let's go down the list, like Justin Herbert against a bad defense. I don't think he's going to have a bad day. It always comes up to me when I look at Caleb Williams. He could have a really good day, but every once in a while I find myself going come on, man, 1 touchdown pass, $179 in the air against Cincinnati. When is this offense actually going to take off? It should take off today, though, to be honest.
If I remember correctly, he had 285 last week against the Ravens, right? He had 285 and no touchdowns.
No touchdowns.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
He was pretty good last week. 285 and no touchdowns. to me, I would have to go back and look at every single drive and dig into it. But like some of that is offensive inefficiency. They move the ball into the red zone. They don't convert. All of a sudden, they're playing from behind. Now they have to go forward on fourth down where they're picking up the yards, but they're not picking up the scores because of the game script. But I'm interested in Caleb Williams today. I think he has a good day. I think they can win this game 28-17, 28-20, where we're going to get close to the total. But again, if you got it earlier in the week, I don't like that's great, but not right now at 51.
Like this team just lost to the Jets with no weapons at all. And it wasn't like there was a 7-6 game. Like the Jets lit them up, and heading into the game, this should be a Ben Johnson special, but it wasn't enough to push me over. I loved it because it should be the perfect scenario. And it would have been if Flacco was completely healthy. Like, they're going to dot each other, banged up secondaries, whatever, pass rush down for Cincinnati. We should be able to work that out. Is what it is. We'll keep moving. Boy, Joe out there says took Brown and Monangai over 80 rushing yards earlier. Let's fucking go, as I like to say. All right, San Francisco and the New York Giants. Mac Jones, another start. Jackson Dart, another start. Dart down, another superstar. But Tom, we are seeing 48.5 from the total this week. Like, who's scoring in this game?
It would be Wan'Dale Robinson. It would be Theo Johnson. It would be CMC. It would be George Kittle. There are enough options where I think we get close to the total, but seeing 50 plus points is not something I'm jumping to do.
Yeah.
I like the 49ers in this game. I like the 49ers, specifically -2.5, a little bit on the money line as well. But I see this as a game where the 49ers just need to get right. It was a horrible game for them last week against Houston. We spoke about it being a super low-scoring game. It was terrible for Mac Jones in the first half. They got things moving a little bit. But if the 49ers can't win this type of game when the Giants have basically no one, then they are just cooked for the season and we can't be trusting them at any point. If this were a home game for the 49ers, it'd be 6.5, I would say. That's where I think where the line would be pushed. It may open up at 5 and be pushed to 6. But, man, the 49ers need to come away with the win. I think Kittle bounces back, and I think Juwan Jennings bounces back as well.
Yeah, team rush, the Giants team rushing prop yesterday, Tom, for the team itself was minus or over a half, which is one rushing touchdown, like -1.7. I was like, I might just take that because I like the value. It's -225 today. Like if you're correlating, right? It's a close spread, high 40s, so 3 touchdowns for the Giants. I doubt they're getting 3 passing touchdowns today out of Jackson Dart, and he's probably going to run one in himself at this point. But it was a little bit too juicy to take this morning. Rushing touchdowns as a team for the 49ers, 1.5 at a +190 price. But it's one of those where you're seeing the high 40s. The defenses aren't very good. But if this were one of those games, Tom, where I had, Scatterboo still in the backfield, and forget about Malik Neighbors, he's been down. So you know what? I think the Giants will be able to move the football because that San Francisco 49ers defense is down. I just can't get a great read overall in this game. Now, I do have the Giants over 3.5 team total for the season. This is a game they can win in the game. They got to get one of these next 2 games here, Tom. And this seems like a winnable game, but isn't it hard just to say, all right, the Giants without weapons, let me back them?
It is. And, part of what I always wonder at this point in the season with I don't see the Giants are defeated, but there's a that emotional sense of we just keep losing players. We're just down and out. And how much fight do they have left? I will say, considering we're still at the beginning of November, it's not like when the last few weeks of the season, this may be the turning point for them where they just may be dead moving forward. If they can put up a few good performances, even in a losing effort, I think they'll be live to get an extra win here or there. But this is where the bottom could really fall out. They just have no one. They can't move the ball. They can't score, those sorts of things.
Let's get a laugh at us one comment here. What happened to Donnie and Kyle Proviance? My old buddy. I do a lot of shows with. Now it says JS Bachelor. Now, is that a code name out there for Batch? I don't know. Let me know in the chat box who that actually is. But yeah, I'm interested in this game. Is it a McCaffrey game? Doesn't it a McCaffrey game here?
Yeah, I forget who the 49ers play next week. Let me just double check because they're back at home versus the Rams, and obviously that's a big divisional matchup where things stand. So again, this is what I always say. It's the 49ers are just get in, get out with the win, just keep it simple and move on to next week, which is clearly a much bigger game.
I think about that too, Tom, which Shanahan's one of the guys that drives me nuts, and so does
everyone.
Dan Campbell. The way he, it's the options where okay, here's what a sane man would do. Hey, McCaffrey just got 32 touches last week and they play Thursday night. He's got to get some of the backups in, and then he gives McCaffrey another 32 touches. So when I always see they're playing the Rams next week, maybe do get in and get out, but it feels like he doesn't care. Like McCaffrey, if I need you at 45 touches with our biggest game of the year next week, I'm going to give you 45 touches in the Meadowlands today. McCaffrey's price point 76.5. Tyrone Tracy at 52.5 and Jackson Dart at 34.5 in this one, Tom.
Yeah, Dart should be scrambling. I'm totally good with that one. He's going to have to move, especially playing from behind. It's also, it's just also his propensity, also just the non-scramble actual QB run plays that they've called up for him are good. We have some questions which we can get to as we get to the 4 o'clock window, but we do see them.
Yeah, we got them all there. Go ahead, fire a couple away from them, Tom.
I was going to say, Matt is always in here, and he's asking about Puka. We haven't gotten to the 4 o'clock games, but it's definitely a fear with the blowout potential as they're what's that number moved up to? It's 13.5 points.
It's always tough.
So I will say I would be interested in backing Puka early if you can get like a first quarter prop on him. I think that's a little more interesting. But Puka I'm going to say he's fully healthy because they're coming off a bye. He also did not play when they were in London before the bye. So he really should be good to go. But we're going to know that immediately. Yeah. We're going to know that like right from the first quarter, is he actually good to go? Because this should be the matchup that they get him back on track. And then if they need to ease off at the end of the third quarter, that won't surprise me. But get him involved early and then get the offense firing because, again, they play the 49ers next week. Huge matchup for them.
Yeah, you're hoping he dominates in the first half because Tom's right. There's nothing worse than like, okay, 14-0. Puka's not really involved. Pick 6 for the Rams. And it's like, are we even throwing the football the rest of the game at this point? So that always is a worry at this point. Shout out to the guys out there, Val Joey's out here, JS Bachelor, Jordan Pensil, our guy, and also parody of DHS. This parody of DHS Bachelor. It's a guy, man. Batchy boy out there. Let's get Atlanta and New England, Tom. One of the hottest teams in the NFL is New England. And the question is going to be no Ramondre Stevenson today. Do we see a breakout performance from Travion Henderson? Michael Penix, healthy and playing. Drake London's going to play in this game. 45.5. New England has been out absolutely for me, Tom, overperforming on offense. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and they could continue. But if we're looking at the 45.5, the way New England plays on offense, should they bust through this 45.5, or is it just Atlanta's that bad right now?
Atlanta is certainly not great right now. And obviously, we have to take last week with a grain of salt, given the fact that it was Kirk Cousins in there. But, New England has been great on defense. And the Falcons have been a sneaky good defense where I think they can contain the Pats to an extent, but I think the Pats will still do the majority of the scoring in this game. And frankly, I do see this as an under. I see the Pats as 21.
Is it an under for you, Tom, because Atlanta stinks on offense right now, primarily? Okay.
It really is. I see the Pats scoring at most 24, which, isn't a bad game for them, but I don't see the Falcons being able to score 20 plus of their own against the Pats. So if you gave me a 24-17 final, 21-17, it puts us right at the spread in terms of the 4.5 or 5, where we've got it early in the week. We're close to the total. The Falcons just don't have enough juice on offense, despite all the talent that they have with Robinson and London being back and Pitts and Mooney. You'd think they'd be doing more, but they're just not. And the Pats' run defense has been outstanding this season.
Yeah, Drake London's back, so it should open some things out. And Kirk Cousins just doesn't have it, and Penix is back. But it just feels like something is amiss. Like, that's a team last week that got crushed by the Dolphins, who in turn got crushed by the Baltimore Ravens. And you're playing good football do I like Penix better than Cousins? Yes. But how is this one of those games where Drake London plays and we know we're not 100% at this point and just get smoked? Like Travion Henderson, by the way, 49.5. He's a popular pick today, Tom.
Yeah, he really is. And here's the issue where to this point in the season, they've yet to give him a consistent amount of carries and consistent amount of work because they were set on involving Ramondre Stevenson, and prior to that, obviously getting Antonio Gibson before he went down the ACL involved in the offense. Ramondre Stevenson, as I've said time and time again, he is terrible and continues to fumble the ball. He's averaging under 3 yards per carry in some of these games. He shouldn't be out there. Travion Henderson, you went and drafted him. If you're going to give him the work, now is the time to do so. We saw CMC a couple Sunday nights ago absolutely gash this Falcons defense. If you're going to trust Travion Henderson and give him 15-plus combined touches, now's the game to do so when you're at home against this type of defense. And if you're not willing to do it now, then there's really no point to ever do it once Stevenson comes back. So my full takeaway for Henderson is he's either going to get for like 80-plus combined yards or he's going to end up with 20, and everyone's just going to be wrong about it. I don't think there's an in-between. He's going to clear all of his numbers or he's going to be completely dead.
Yeah, this number pushing higher to Atlanta and New England open up at 3. I'm seeing 5.5 at DraftKings, 5.5 at 365. Most outlets now sitting at 5. FanDuel's 4.5 with some juice in this point. But I do think New England's a better team playing great football, and I just don't trust Atlanta. But sometimes when you see the NFL, Tom, that week-to-week league, right? Ooh, this team looks good, then really bad. It's just so hard to take that Atlanta team, which was so underwhelming last week, getting smoked, and then saying, okay, they're going to win in New England as a dome team outdoors, and somehow Bijan Robinson's going to run wild, as you said, against a very good rush defense. Not a lot of love in that game for me. But
I will say I do like Bijan over his receiving yards, 35.5.
35.5.
They're not going to be able to run the ball. Again, Bijan did nothing last week. Just get him involved, get Penix those easy completions to keep the offense moving down the field over 35.5.
Making some believers here, Tom. Indianapolis and Pittsburgh. Daniel Jones on the road. This team is phenomenal, 7-1. Are they 7-1 right now? Is that the record? I think it's 7-1, right?
Yeah.
Going up against Pittsburgh. And again, Pittsburgh desperately needs a win because it now looks like Baltimore is getting healthy and chasing them down. But I got to tell you, every week it seems like a referendum on, I don't know if the Colts are for real. They won. Yeah, but next week, I don't know if they're for real. They won. Like, this team should have actually beat probably should have lost, though, to the Denver Broncos, but should have beat the Los Angeles Rams. So let's just call that even at that point. So deserving of one loss. I think they win in Pittsburgh, Tom. That offense is moving. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense, I have no idea what's going on, and there's no explosiveness or not enough explosiveness for Pittsburgh. Like, I see the 3, and usually my mind goes, oh, Pittsburgh is a home dog. Didn't work out last week. I don't think it works again. I just think the Colts are better, Tom.
And also the Steelers defense is absolutely terrible this year. We had everyone, myself included, maybe not everyone, but myself included, a lot of people have this preconceived notion and this bias. It's like, oh, Pittsburgh, it's a defense. If you look at some of the last few years of their defense, including this year, they are terrible on defense. And just absolutely dreadful at the bottom of the league in so many different categories. So we need to drop these biases that we all have for teams, against teams, whatever it might be. Coming into the year, I was like, Daniel Jones is terrible. I don't know why they're naming him the starting quarterback. Yeah. But you look at the Colts are one of the most efficient offenses this century. Not like this season, not the last 5 years, this century. They're putting up literal historic numbers. So again, myself, a lot of people were wrong about Daniel Jones. I didn't think he was anywhere close to being an average quarterback, and they seemingly are exceeding that all the way through the roof this year. So if the Colts win, they could win this game. They could cover 7.5. They could cover 9.5 in this game. This should be the spot where they just push things out and come away with another win. Because we have to remember, next week they go overseas to play the Falcons, I think, in Berlin. If I remember. Colts.
Yeah.
I'm saying the Colts are going overseas. Yeah. Yes. So it's like get an in-conference win before going overseas, an out-of-conference international game. That is less important compared to this one.
Like I had last week, Tom, over 1.5 rushing touchdowns for the Colts, and Jonathan Taylor hit that home run the second half, 80 yards. Like, he's listed at 93.5 yards. Usually, Tom, I don't care if you're Barry Sanders reincarnated. Something has to really go right for you to get 93.5 yards. And I find myself going like, okay, bet the under. Oh, Taylor for 37 yards in the first quarter on one carry. It's like, oh, here we go at this point. Because you're right. The preconceived notion was, oh, this would be interesting in Pittsburgh. Like, if Aaron Rodgers can be a decent quarterback, they can lean on their defense. Their defense is horrific. And then you're right. The Colts on offense, mixed bag. We'll see if Richardson's the quarterback. They are a machine right now. You can't. Okay, you want to stop them on the wide receiver position? Tight end kills you. Stop the tight end. Wideouts kill you. Stop both of the passing game. Jonathan Taylor kills you. Shut down the running game. Oh, no. You got Daniel Jones making his own plays with his own legs at this point here. How do you play the running backs here in this game? Forget about the wideouts. 93.5 for Jonathan Taylor. Jalen Warren, 56.5.
Yeah, I like Warren. I do. I think Jonathan Taylor's numbers, again, I've always said this, I'm never going to bet into super chalky players. Justin Jefferson.
Last year, he would hit it, Tom, but he's like 98.5. You're like, I can't take that.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, these CMC, I'll never bet into some of those numbers because they're so high. But Warren does play a really solid role in the rushing and passing game. So from an ideal standpoint, I think the Steelers would be like, hey, let's run the ball. Let's just keep the ball away from the Colts' their offensive hands. And therefore, Warren will see a good usage in the run game. But also, if they do fall behind, he does play a solid role in the passing game as well. So I think the rushing plus receiving combined would be my favorite avenue for Warren.
I'll tell you what's interesting, Tom, in this next game here. Carolina and Green Bay. It's Love versus Young. Now, Bryce Young is back in, and Andy Dalton could have been any worse last week, so at least you get the young kid back. Totals listed at 43.5. Some windy conditions, 10 and 15 mile an hour sustained winds. Watching the forecast there, wasn't all that bad. Green Bay is the Philadelphia Eagles on deck on Monday night next week. Now, I don't think that plays into it, but this line, Tom, opened up double digits. Now it's as high as 13.5 at FanDuel. Rico Dowdle in the backfield just named the starter, so he's taking time from Chuba Hubbard right now. A couple wide receivers healthy along with their quarterback. I look at the 43.5 and say, I think we get the over because I do think Green Bay is going to do that. Whatever happened last week to Carolina's defense, I don't expect any short-term options. Oh, they're really going to stand up because Green Bay can hit you at wide receiver, tight end, and running back at this point. I think Green Bay wins going away, but I'm kind of interested in that 43.5. Do I see a different, should I say, Tom, a little bit of a difference on offense from last week?
I would like to think so. And again, if the 43, like Green Bay could put up 30 on their own, and you're like, listen, Panthers, you just got to get 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
We don't, it doesn't have to be early, doesn't have to be, late, whatever it is. Just get 2 touchdowns across the board. They could lose this game 31-17. They never have a shot in this, but the point should be there. The problem with the Packers is, especially since Christian Watson came back last year, Kraft, Dobbs, Golden, Watson, you have 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, plus Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just don't know who the ball is going to.
Yep.
Now, Christian Watson, as Joe was saying, he does have some really good downfield potential, right? And the career A-dot sitting at over 16 yards. They love to target. Tucker Kraft had an amazing game last week. As I always say, it's like I would rather play Kraft, Dobbs, Golden, or just pick your 3, Kraft, Dobbs, Watson, whatever. Just pick 3, and you want 2 to come in, hit the overs. I don't know who it's going to be, but I'll just play 3 and hope 2 come through.
Yeah, it's one of those where you're right because they're cheap numbers out there. Like Tucker Kraft's been phenomenal, but if you look at the guy I always think is the safe route is the Romeo Dobbs. Keep him under 50 yards. He's worth a play at this point. But there are some guys like Christian Watson, 35.5. That's 2 catches. You know what I mean? That's 17 yards and 22 yards, and away you go at that point, and he hits that number there. How do we play Rico Dowdle in this game? Now, he's officially the starter. Now, we don't really know what that actually means other than he's going to be out there with the starters on the first drive of the game. He's 50.5, Tom. If you think you're going to win this football game against Green Bay, it's not, let's throw it 40 times, let Micah Parsons crush the pocket.
Right. And I think Rico Dowdle is the better talent, just straight up compared to Chuba Hubbard. I was never super high on Chuba Hubbard. I think he's a league average running back. So, yeah, Rico Dowdle should be the one seeing the volume of carries. And again, to your point, you don't want Bryce Young, who is coming off an injury. They say he's good to go. He practiced in full this week. You don't want him dropping back 35 times against that Green Bay pass rush. So it would be controlling the game to a certain point. It would be trying to not turn this into a shootout. It would be Rico Dowdle, give me 17, 20 some odd carries if we can manage that on offense to try and keep the ball away from the Green Bay offense. And so he should be going over 50 in an ideal standpoint for the Panthers game plan.
Yeah, I like a couple touchdowns in this game by Love. It's just one of those, you just don't want to get too many stolen by your running back. Anytime the first thing goes from the 9 where you hand it off and they run it in really bother me at this point. By the way, I had over 1.5 rushing touchdowns for the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. And this is the perfect start to the game. Like Derrick Henry ran it down to the inch. Of course he's getting the ball next, and he did and lost a yard. And then I said, my God, 4 passing touchdowns from inside the red zone for Baltimore. Absolutely gutted me last week. So I hope that doesn't happen in that game with Green Bay. But 1 o'clock game time that I really like, and I do think is going to be a blowout, I think Detroit blows out Minnesota today. 8.5 up to 9.5, just short of double digits, 47.5. Here's the reason why. Detroit at home is a different animal. They're very good on the road on offense. When they're at home in that dome, everything seems like it clicks. Minnesota's defense, and hey, we're built on getting pressure in the pocket and bringing extra. You bring extra guys against Jared Goff, he's going to absolutely slay you in this game. I think they cover the double digits. I think Goff has a couple touchdown passes, but it's a shame that I look at McCarthy. Like, if I knew I could just get good quarterback play on Minnesota, I know I have weapons that can get open and we can score points. I don't trust Minnesota. Like, this is such a bad start for McCarthy for me. I love Detroit to blow them out.
I do too. And here's the issue with J.J. McCarthy. You are banking on the smaller of the small sample sizes for him to be good, because in the games that he played, he's looked bad for 75% of them. Half, like having half, like 75% of the time he's played this year, he's looked bad. He was great in the fourth quarter against the Bears, but the entire third quarter before, he was terrible. And now he's coming off an injury, and now their offensive line certainly isn't as good as it once was earlier in the year. They do have the weapons on offense to do so. Jordan Addison's back, but you don't know what you're getting from him because he hasn't played in over a month, and he was bad prior to him getting hurt. So if they cover, I think it has to be a decent Mason game for the Vikings, but I just don't see the Lions not scoring 30 points tonight or today.
Joe, they say got a Miller Lite and some wings. Calling my name. That's Scott B. Bo Joe says, still not see what the Vikings saw in McCarthy. We'll see today. Let me answer you this question, Tom, because I know you get as much information as you can and you try to stay above the curve here. Detroit's offense, it's humming, but it's apparent that not everybody's eating there. And when you say, Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to get his, he's dominant. He's the slot.
His bobblehead day today.
And his bobblehead, he's going to get after it. But Jamison Williams, Now, offensive coordinator came out, Morton, and said,
I
I'm letting
failed.
this guy down right now. We had a couple meetings. Everything is good. He's 50.5. Now, I know how you like to play it, too. Angry guy. Let's get him some work. It's going to come on the first drive, first 2 drives, some dialed up plays. But, Tom, if I gave you 50.5 receiving yards, does that mean we got to get this guy the football enough to get like 75 yards today?
Yeah, I would say that the play calling from a schematic standpoint will be the deep passes to get, like, he'll have an extra few deep shots, whether he hauls them in, whether Goff's on target, those sorts of things. But I think he will have more deep passes than he's had normally. And let me just check that back. So Jameson Williams is plus 155 to catch a pass on the first drive, which I do love. That's like one of my favorite bets when a wide receiver, there's storylines, it's squeaky wheel narrative, as people like to say. Give me JMO at plus 155, and I do think he goes over it. And it also, if he does go over his receiving, I think he will also hit the longest reception, which is sitting at 23 and a half.
That's the one that's interesting to me, too. But like the home run in this game, because if you're letting him down, that's his, like, hey, look, you can only cover so many people in that option. You get one-on-one, they're going to be throwing deep shots. If you tell me right now he's getting 2 deep shots, whether or not they're completed, that's all you would bet and say, you know what, I'll live with that at this point here. The 50.5 is interesting here, but I think Tom always plays this one correctly. Get him involved early, even if it's a rocket screen with a couple blockers to get him 6 yards. Okay, exactly. I'm in the mix. I'm ready to go, and let's see what happens today in this game. If we are looking at some rushing props, which, again, Detroit, for me, I do think that we have a really good game, which every week Goff basically has.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. How do you play that backfield here? Because sometimes it's, hey, maybe we don't give Montgomery enough, but it's hard to say I'm going to take Montgomery over Gibbs. And in the first drive of the game, Gibbs, 5 carries, 32 yards and a touchdown. Like, why didn't I just go with this guy?
Yeah, that's what's tough. And it was the game, the Monday night game against the Bucs when the Bucs were just terrible. Prior to that game, Dan Campbell had said that he wants to restore balance to the backfield just because Montgomery hasn't been seeing as many opportunities. And he said he wants to, and then we just didn't see that. And Gibbs went crazy that game. We know that. It's tough. Like the rush attempts is 11.5 and it's juiced to the over minus 140 for Montgomery. Maybe they look to get him in, but man, the fact that Gibbs's longest rush is still only 17.5, he's always bound to break one off. And I'd rather, like, this is the hill I'd rather die on with Gibbs. I'd rather play over 17.5 every week and just know I'm going to come out positive more often than not. Like I may lose today, but when he breaks off 80-yard runs, we can win those time and time again.
There's very few, like Saquon does it.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry does it. Jahmyr Gibbs does it. It's like when you know that head of steam is coming, like, oh, man, that one little ankle. Otherwise, he had 30, 40 yards, and maybe he's gone to the house. Like, I love watching those guys type of break away here. Here's the good game, and here's one of the games that hasn't been hitting all that much this year. It's Denver and it's Houston. 8 out of every 10 tickets, Tom, coming in on the Denver Broncos. They opened up as the favorite. Game day right now, FanDuel, minus 2.5. Not towards Denver. It's actually towards Houston, and a total that was 39.5, now up to 41.5. Injury situation this game, not too bad for Houston's offense. A couple guys getting healthy at the wide receiver position, and Schultz is going to play at tight end today, which is big. You have one of the better cornerbacks down in the NFL on the Denver Broncos side of things. That should play into it, Tom. But the public seems to love Denver, but that role reversal of that line is always key. But that hasn't been working all that much this year.
It really hasn't. This game is super tough. And I would say if you like Denver, I would almost just play them on the money line instead. Like, I think they can come away with doing it. And, the thing I would say about Houston is they were pretty terrible to start the year. Their offense specifically was terrible. Their offensive line was horrible.
Yeah.
Then they have this breakout game from Stroud kind of last week, the Monday night game against the Seahawks. I think he put up a good performance stats-wise. They absolutely lost that game. But then he has this huge performance last week against the 49ers. How much of that carries? And he did so last week without Nico Collins and Christian Kirk. Now these guys are back. How much of that carries over against a very good defense, even though that defense is missing their top corner with Pat Surtain? Because if that carries over, this is a spot for Stroud to show what he did 2 years ago and be that, center franchise cornerstone that you're going to build around, because he really hasn't been that at any point last year and not so much this year.
Yeah, I'm going to trust my spidey senses there with Houston in this game. But let me ask you how we're going to do this. The wide receiver position is so intriguing, just from a Houston perspective. Like, we're going to get Nico Collins back. He's the number 1.
Yeah.
Finally getting Christian Kirk back. He's the number 2. And by the way, he's listed at 27.5. But the guys that were getting a lot of burn the past couple weeks, Tom, Jaden Higgins, 11.5 yards. Jalen Noel, 15.5 yards. Hutchinson, 15.5 yards.
Yeah.
Did they just disappear at this point, or don't they build a little rapport from the past couple weeks?
I would like to think that they built rapport, especially Noel and Higgins, the two rookies that they have. But It's going to be tough because they need to get Woody Marks involved in the backfield. He should absolutely be seeing more touches compared to Nick Chubb. And then getting Nico Collins back and Christian Kirk back. And, whatever people think about Christian Kirk, like he's, just a slot receiver who doesn't play the outside. They went out and gave him money in the offseason. So they do need to have him out there and, to some extent. So I don't want to say there's like too many mouths to feed now that we have seen this emergence of the two rookie receivers, Nolan Higgins, but they should be getting the ball to Nico Collins first and foremost to get him back because he's had a pretty slow year to begin with him to this point through 8 weeks. But I could see, again, two of those players going over and they may run away with the game.
By the way, how about this next game, Tom? I think we're going to get a blowout here too, but the line is getting away. It's -8.5 to open the week. We're talking about the Chargers and the Titans. It's 10.5, Tom. At FanDuel, 10 at DraftKings, still some 9.5 showing at Bet365 and BetMGM, a total 44.5. Here's the difference. Well, any given Sunday, it's hard to give a road team and a dome team outdoors, 10 points. I get that. But now you're looking at Tennessee now. Head coach up in the air for next year, whatever. GM, we don't know if he's going to be back. They're supposed to make a ton of trades here coming up in the next week because the trade deadline here. They're injured beyond belief on defense. I'd say the Chargers should be able to put whatever they want on the board. But the question, Tom, is like Harbaugh will be fine. Hey, we're up 14-6 at the half. They can't score on us. We'll run this out. I need Tennessee to participate because I think Herbert can have a really big day against that secondary. But what am I getting out of Tennessee? And do you trust a double-digit team in the Chargers today?
I trust the Chargers, obviously, to win the game. The number's a little bit weird. 9, and if you got it earlier in the week, 9.5 or 8.5, whatever it might be, that's awesome. Yeah, Kamani Vidal should be in for a huge game. And again, this is just a very like the Chargers. Like, let's just get in, let's get out with a win, and it doesn't matter who produces. Where Ladd, Allen, Gadsden has this huge emergence in the past 2 weeks. Quentin Johnson just was running cardio last week and had no catches. But all of them could eat, but also I could tell you, if tomorrow morning, Donnie, when we talk, if I told you 3 of them failed because they didn't have to pass the ball.
Correct.
Right? And you had Ladd went crazy, Kamani Vidal went crazy, and a pick six. Oh, it's all of a sudden it's 24-6. Yeah. And then the guys just don't come through because they don't need to. That's the kind of feeling I have. If you end up being right about Ladd or Allen, he's going to have a huge game, but the other guys may not. And it's not their fault that they didn't have a big game.
When you see games that you need points and stuff, when you get that defensive touchdown, when you have a guy on offense and the other team, it's I just lost. I know this is going to hurt me now because it changes the complete landscape of the football game. When most of the time you just want a running mate, hey, look, you might get pounded in this game. Just don't get beat by 30. Hang around 2 scores in the second half and everything should work out to fine. That's one of those where I do think the Chargers hang it on it. But again, a little bit leery of a dome team going outdoors. Rain in the forecast before the game is supposed to clear up after it. But those wide receivers and tight ends and running backs and Justin Herbert, they should, with Alt coming back as that, anchor at the left tackle, really settle things down. Some of your better defenders are out for the Titans. It should be an easy game today. Jacksonville and Las Vegas, Tom. I circled this game at the beginning of the week, and I said to myself, you know what? I like this game over 3.5 touchdown passes between the quarterbacks. I think it was 2.5 touchdown passes, Tom, -190, but 3.5 plus money. And I said, okay, now you start to get some injuries come through. It's no, man, Travis Hunter's down. Still don't mind that. But then again, you're looking at Brian Thomas Jr. He was in one of those jerseys you can't touch him during the week as a shoulder, so who knows how long he's going to be. And then I was like, okay, finally, Geno Smith. Brock Bowers is back. And also, how about this? Finally healthy at the wide receiver position with Jacoby Myers. And they go, yeah, he's healthy, but he's not playing today because we're trading him before the deadline. Now I can't do anything with this game, Tom.
Yeah, so they did sign Tyler Lockett. We have to remember that. He requested his release from the Titans, signed with the Raiders, has some familiarity with Geno and Pete Carroll. We have to remember that. I'm not seeing any Tyler Lockett numbers posted, but again, with the trade rumors surrounding Jacoby Myers, there's a part of me that's just it's a complete donut from him today, where he's active but he doesn't play, or it's just a decoy. They're not throwing him the ball.
I think this is the time they're going to inactive. I don't think he's playing today.
Really?
Inactive, yeah.
Okay, so I'm still seeing his props posted, but yeah, we'll get those official. So if that is the case, Brock Bowers, who said he's finally good to go after this knee PCL thing, he should be eating. We should see Trey Tucker stepping up. And again, I really do think that they will try to get Lockett involved if he is active, which we don't have final confirmation on, because they just need another body out there. They're not going to be trusting Jack Besh, the rookie receiver, with too many routes when it's all said and done. Now, there's an argument to be made that they have no one else to throw the ball to if Tyler Lockett isn't inactive and Jacoby Myers. So Besh, if you could find a 9.5, 12.5 number on Jack Besh, maybe he just catches a pass.
Yeah, like I looked at it because sometimes you try to formulate your opinions early in the week. I'm like, ooh, if I'm getting Bowers back and it looks like Myers is practicing, that's, Jacksonville has a good defense, but you're not going to be as bad as you were a couple weeks ago against the Kansas City Chiefs. Like Bowers opens up like he might have been the best player in football before he got injured, like an absolute monster like he is. And then you add another wide receiver back on the other wide receivers, and you could say I can move the football. And then you get the injuries to Jacksonville. I do still think that game is supposed to go over. Like when two bad teams play, technically, and two bad defense, at least one. Like Vegas is one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I sort of backed off it from a props perspective, but I can see it. But if you are looking at the line itself, like I think Alexander up there, shout out goes, Falcons game goes over. Wait, what's the one? No, Raiders. I'm sorry, Joey. Excuse me. Raiders for the cover. I was looking at the wrong one. Like this is a game where 7 out of every 10 tickets are on Jackson. If the line opened up at 3 and it's 2.5 and 1.5, you're supposed to take the Raiders, but can you actually do that? It's a question.
I understand that people are backing a home team as an underdog who's coming off a bye. Like there are just trends that back up that sort of thing that will bet into trends. You're getting 3 points at home coming off a bye. You're also getting your best player back. So those are positive signs for the Raiders. I will also say, like, if the Raiders can't at least put up a good performance against Jacksonville now, like the season's dead. Like we know they've been terrible.
Quick update from RotoWire. It says Trevor Lawrence feels ill but will play today.
Okay.
It's always like again, sometimes you already have your bets in. Like, wait a second, I love this game. Now all of a sudden, I have an injury to one of my best wide receivers in Travis Hunter, and my quarterback says he's under the weather in this.
We also got another update
that
said 20 minutes ago, Aaron Rodgers may have suffered an issue with his hand during pregame warmups.
Oh my God.
And then there was another update that said Rodgers took all his normal reps in warmups after this.
Oh yeah, there we go. Ralph Vacchiano. I see that right there 9 minutes ago. Injured his hand during warmups. Now hold on. I'm going to watch this real quick here. Let me see this. Do they have the actual? Because I got it on. Do they show it where he bangs it? Because they're showing him. He's sort of working it out. And it is his right hand, and he's pointing to his knuckles at that point. So there you go. Good luck if you have the Steelers, if your quarterback's banged up here.
Well, so again, we talked about Jalen Warren. That might be a positive sign for Jalen Warren. See more carries, a few more touches.
Yeah.
And what does ill mean? I mean, they are in Vegas, so you never know.
Yeah.
Like,
man. Craziness. How about this next one, Tom? New Orleans and the Los Angeles Rams. Shuck getting his first start today. 13.5 to 14s in the marketplace. Puka is expected to play. The Rams should be rested and ready. And New Orleans starting a rookie quarterback on the road. Now, sometimes you look at Spencer Rattler and say, it can't get any worse. And then say, man, it just actually got worse. But honestly, like the game in this one, let me just give you a team prop for this one because I find it interesting. I'm going to ask you a question on top of it. Let me just scroll down. Okay, Saints, and we will go to team props, main props. 2.5 touchdown passes in the game. Now, it's juicy, Tom, minus 175. Stafford's going to throw 2. Now, I ask you, is Shuck going to get 1? Can he get 1? He's got a big arm. Come on.
Yeah, I would like to think he gets 1. Like, what are you thinking for the final score of this? Because I'm thinking it's 44.5. Like, this could very easily be 28-10.
Yes. Like, no, and I was just going to say that it's high 20s for the Rams and scraps for New Orleans. Like, that's the way they're
28, 30 points for the Rams. Yep. And again, this is what we talked about with Puka. You would love him to be involved early because 91 is a super high number, and the game lines don't suggest that he's going to have to need to catch the ball. You would like to think that he just does it based solely on efficiency in the matchup against the Saints. So I have a really tough time with this game. I'm starting Stafford in my most important dynasty team just because Joe Burrow's hurt. But other than that, I really don't love this game.
Yeah, let's get to the game of the week, Tom. Kansas City, Buffalo, Mahomes and Allen. 52.5 to 53.5 now at DraftKings is a total. The side, the Chiefs open up 1.5, Tom. 2.5s, 1.5s, and 2s in the marketplace bouncing around. 7 out of every 10 tickets I'm seeing here are on the Buffalo Bills. I think this game is going to be great. Here's the issue, Tom. Can the running game for Kansas City get cranked up against that Buffalo defense? Because if it can, that's a long day for Buffalo. I love home teams, but I got to tell you, I'm feeling Kansas City today. I am.
It is. It's certainly tough. Now, Pacheco is officially out, so it's going to be Kareem Hunt and Brashad Smith as the 2 running backs. Brashad Smith, I really do have interest in him, especially when it comes to receiving over 18.5 receiving yards for Brashad Smith. And, now that the Chiefs are healthy with Rice back, and we kind of saw this a bit last week on Monday night when they beat the Commanders, looking at some of their props, Donnie, it's just like, man, not every guy's going to come through. It's just like it was Kelsey last week. He had 99 yards. Rice scored a touchdown, but Worthy didn't. And it's just like every week it's going to be like, okay, this week it's going to be, maybe it's Hollywood Brown who had no catches last week. They want to get him back in the offense. So it's going to be Brown, Worthy, and it's going to be Kareem Hunt in the backfield. And there's your 3 touchdowns. And it's just a slower game from Rice and a slower game from Kelsey because they have too many options on offense.
Like, I feel like in this game, Tom, like sometimes you put like the correlations together. I go to rushing yards. Forget about James Cook 72.5. Like, it's a really good defense. And yes, he can get those numbers. He's explosive over 2 Bills last week against a really porous Panthers team. But I feel like the correlation in this game is if you are picking the Buffalo Bills to win, it's not because James Cook went crazy. It's not because the defense stood on their head. It's because Josh Allen was Superman in this game, Tom. Like, just looking at a rushing prop, 42.5 is a lot for a quarterback. But I don't see Josh Allen rushing for 21 yards and then winning. I just feel like it's on his shoulders. Touchdown passes, I actually don't like for him today. Do I think he gets 2? Yes, but I don't want to bet it, and I didn't bet it. I look at the wide receiver position, say it is a little bit underwhelming, and it just feels like to me like Josh is going to be able to either run it in himself for over 42.5 yards. I wouldn't pick the Buffalo Bills unless I included Josh Allen in a lot of those equations.
Right. And I would also say if you do think you like the Bills to cover, you like Josh Allen to have a big day, it probably does put Mahomes in a rushing spot as well. Where if they do get a little bit of pass rush because the Bills are playing from in front and Kansas City has to then push the ball. And that may be compounded by the fact that they don't have Pacheco. Because Kareem Hunt is a high volume ball carrier that they like to use. They like to use him once they get into the red zone, or they use him in the middle of the field to pick up a 3rd and short or 4th and short, but they don't use him on normal outside runs at the 30-yard line.
How you doing passing in this game, though, Tom? Like, how was it again? 229.5 for Allen, Mahomes 271.5. How do you feel about either one of those?
I would take Allen before I took Mahomes.
Yeah. Just because the 50-yard number difference, roughly?
Yeah, 50-yard number. And again, they're underdogs at home. Kansas, as I talked to you the other day, I do like James Cook under his rushing yards. Kansas City has a great run defense. Yeah. So if Cook's not having a big game, they're going to have to move the ball, and I would take Allen. Frankly, I would alt Allen up. I'm not to pull Joe Lisi, but I would alt Allen up to 250 plus. I like it. 250 isn't a big ask for Josh Allen, especially if they are playing from behind.
Let me ask you a question on this game, too, from a receiving perspective. Like, again, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, as we like to say, for Kansas City. That's not where I'm going. Buffalo. Khalil Shakir, 50.5. Dalton Kincaid, 36.5. Keon Coleman, 40.5. James Cook out of the backfield, 12.5. Who gets your money on Buffalo's wideouts today?
Kincaid.
Yeah.
Really do like Kincaid. Khalil Shakir, I think, is a totally solid option. The 50.5 number I don't like. Keon Coleman has been anything but consistent. And I think Kincaid is the option at 36.5. He gets that done in 3 catches, and you get to the window.
Let me ask you a question on the running back situation for Kansas City. Brashard Smith, obviously coming up as a hot guy.
Yeah.
3rd down back will be Brashard Smith. So looking at his 18.5 receiving yards.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I really do like 18.5 for Smith receiving yards. It's 18.5 for both rushing and receiving, but I just prefer the receiving. I think that's where he was a receiver in college. So, and Mahomes has talked about him throughout the season that he does like his pass catching ability. So 18.5 for
love that screen game as well. One game quickly, Tom, we'll talk about tonight, Sunday Night Football, Seattle and Washington, Sam Darnold, Jaden Daniels. No Terry McLaurin, and the latest reports say he might be down for weeks at this point, re-injuring that thigh, which is devastating. And also, you have no Cooper Kupp today, so is it just the Jackson Smith and Jigba show against that Washington secondary?
I'll take the points with Washington at home just because they're a home team getting points, and they are getting their quarterback back. Torrey Horton in the pass game. Jackson Smith and Jacobs number is 98.5, which is bananas. That's what we saw Cooper Kupp at when he was having his fantastic season a couple of years ago. But that's a crazy number to bet into. He could very easily go over it, but I'm not going to do that. Torrey Horton, 33.5, should be playing the majority of the snaps in 2 wide receiver sets. And they will deploy 2 tight ends with Barner and Arroyo, plus the 2 running backs.
There you go, Tommy. Every game on the card. Give the people something to chew on here first. What do you got?
Bijan Robinson over 35.5 receiving yards. Cook under 73.5 rushing yards. And I also like Brashard Smith over 18.5 receiving yards.
About to go. A fun play having today, Tom. The New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers to combine for 240 yards rushing as a team on both sides there. That's what I'm looking for today with some of those fun ones. I like quarterback props out there. Obviously, I told you, really liking Justin Herbert to throw a couple touchdown passes there. I think Mahomes has a really solid game at 415. I really wanted to take both of those quarterbacks 2.5, but I thought Patrick Mahomes was the better side on that one. So a lot of stuff out there, a lot of wagers in today. So we'll root them on, Tom. 1 minute to kickoff. We did it in style today. Tom
Oh, yeah,
Beckman.
right up to 45 minutes. We're right on
Look at
time.
that, man. Right on time kickoff. And you know what? We'll do it again tomorrow night on a Monday action-packed show. That's the way we go, Tom. Enjoy, boys. Peace.